Welcome back to this new episode, diving into what's new in SAS Data Explorer, Intelligent Decisioning, and SAS Studio. Let's go! Today, we are starting things off in an application we haven't seen before, which is the SAS Data Explorer or the Manage Data entry in the main menu. Here, we have a refreshed UI. It's been rewritten in React and it's much faster than before. And you can also probably see some visual changes here as well. First up is the in-memory data, so everything that has been loaded in your system currently, which you can easily filter up above or display the sample data and the details up here. Of course, from here you also have your actions still available, how you used to know them before. What's also new here is that you now can directly go to your SAS server and browse the different libraries. And here you see an awesome new capability, which is the default target library, indicated by this little check mark. And you can set them however you would like by right-clicking and setting it as a default target library. That's important when you go to import your new data sets. If we go to the import menu, you can also see it has been cleaned up and looks much nicer now. And if we go to import local files, you can now, let's just use PNG. You can see that the default location in the import is located as my default library that I set in the sources menu, which is super handy when you're importing a lot of stuff. Let's go back to the sources and look at something else that has been improved. And that is the capability of adding new data sources to your environment. You can see this dialog is much more easy to use and you can scroll through and see the different icons to quickly identify what you want to do. And then if we, for example, select Postgres, you now only have to enter the specific information and everything is detailed towards the Postgres connections. And you can also, if there are specific versions of Postgres that offer additional configuration options, you can select them from this drop down up here. You can also directly access the specific sub-documentation on the engine that you are selecting. And then you can create both a SAS library and a SAS compute library up here, and then configure the options and save them to your environment, which is very handy and it's much easier and looks much better now than as to previous releases. Super cool. Let's go to the main menu and switch over to Intelligent Decisioning, where we see the introduction of a new node type that has been made available. For this, I have started to build out a decision process for us to take a look at. And you can see we have a new node type in here with a new icon, parallel process. This node enables you to run decisions in parallel when you publish them to MAS or to a SAS container runtime. And this is a great capability if you have complex decision logic that can run in parallel to speed up the execution of each single decision. And what you do here is you can add additional decisions from SAS content to your parallel process nodes. And of course, you can only have one, but what's the fun in that? You can add n decisions to here. And for me, you can see I have 2 decisions that are in here. And what's then important is that the input variables that your decisions need are defined up here and are mapped appropriately. And you get one output variable back, which is in my case called ppn out, and it's a data grid. Now, what's happening behind the scenes here? Let us look at one of those decisions that we have used in our step, first decision. So let us go back. Let's open up first decision. And what you can see in here, it's a very simplistic decision, but it has a rule set in it. And if we look at the variables, what is important here is that you only have one output variable for your decision, and that output variable has to be a data grid. So we have here our first decision data grid, which we are outputting to our main decision where it's run in parallel. And of course, you have full control over that data grid in your decision. You can define it however you would like and return it to our parallel decision. And if we head back to our parallel decision, we can let's take a look at the scenario that I've pre-built to see what this looks like. When we take a look at the output, you can see I get my output variable that was defined in the parallelization node. Of course, when you do this afterwards, you can do whatever you would like with that output data set or data grid. And if we open this up, you can see I get high age, which was produced by my first decision. And we get a second variable called high steps, which was created by our second decision. So you can see there is additional variables that have been added automatically to the output data grid. Namely, it's the whole PPN variables that have been added to your data grid to help you understand where did the data come from in your whole decision hierarchy. So super awesome feature, which can really help you if you have very complex decisions, especially if you're using a lot of treatments that need to be tested and applied to your data, then parallelizing them can lead to great improvements in performance. Let us round things out in SAS by going to the SAS Studio side of things, where we have 4 new visualization steps that have been added: bubble plot, heat map, histogram, and the pie chart steps, which we can, of course, run and then get the corresponding visualizations back. You can easily configure them by defining your X and Y variables, titles, and other options like you are used to from other graphic or visualization steps that we already have in the software. And then we see an update to the manage columns step, which has now introduced the ability to create a new column directly in the manage column step, which is super handy if you're already changing up your dataset to add new variables to it. And you can now also change additional things, not just the labels, but also the type, length, format, and informat of your variables. So that also, again, just increases the capabilities of that manage column steps. Now, let's take a look at the new custom steps introduced this month, and there's a lot of them, so we will have to be quick. First up is the ability to submit Python and R code. This is a wrapper around the gateway action, which we talked about in last episode. Then we have a step to read in files from the Google Cloud Storage, so Parquet and Delta Lake files, into SAS. Correspondingly, we have an action to write files to the Google Cloud Storage as Parquet and Delta Lake files. Also, there is a step that helps you export data as Parquet files, which is a nice wrapper around the capabilities that SAS offers you. Then, if you are looking for nearest neighbors, there is now a great step that helps you dive into that and you're not having to code that yourself. If you have CSV files with longer than 32 column names, then you can use the new import CSV with long column names step, appropriately named, to help you import those types of data more easily. You can update the column labels based on input files to your dataset. So as we talked about the manage column step, where you can do this manually, you can use the update column label step to do it from a table to more programmatically update your datasets. If you are interacting with SAS content, you might have the need to generate a folder in SAS content automatically. So there's a new step, SAS content create folder. And if you're working with those folder programmatically, you might need their URI. So there's the appropriate step, SAS content obtain folder URI. Now, to round things out, we have our 3 articles from SAS communities this month. First up is how to create an enterprise-wide model dashboard with SAS Viya to help you understand all of your models that you have within your environment, track how they are performing, what was used to create them, etc. It's a very in-depth post. Check it out. It's super cool. Next, we have a solution for sidecar logging with SAS Container Runtime. If you are working with SAS Container Runtime and have some interest in optimizing the logging capabilities, then check out this post. It's super detailed and will help you get up and running very fast. And the last one is a bit of a fun one. It's Wolfen SAS, the FPS game that was written in SAS. So if you know the game Wolfenstein 3D, this is an implementation in SAS. It's an awesome post that you should check out for some fun. Thank you and have a great start into 2024. And I hope this Viya release highlight show was helpful to you. See you next month.